My question is, how do I move through the fear and allow myself to receive what I know is waiting right here for me?
Well, you don't move through fear. You acknowledge it as guidance that what you're thinking is bogus. The feeling of fear, think about it. When you feel fear, the significant thing that it's telling you is you're thinking of something that your inner being isn't thinking of. Because if your inner being agreed with you, you'd be feeling elation. And so if you trust that your inner being knows the real deal, and you acknowledge that we really don't think it would be a good idea for you to fill your hands with Novocaine so that you could just lay them on the hot stove. I feel no more pain. It's so much better now that I have numb hands. Very odd smell, however. It's good that you have awareness that you are focused in a way that is not good for you, yes? So don't move through fear. Acknowledge it. Take the bounce. In other words, because when you're feeling strong fear, you really, really know what you do not want. So you're really, really specifically focused upon what you don't want, which means you're launching really specific rockets of desire about what you do want. And your fear is just telling you, hey, you've launched the rockets, you've done the work, you've taken the expansion. The larger part of you is expanded and taking the expansion and loving the expansion. But you right now, because of what you're focused upon, are an uncooperative component, and you're feeling the discord of that, period. Jerry had an experience a long time ago. He was working on a television show a long time ago, and the wrangler was going to assign him a horse. And so there was a horse that was just really skittish and anxious and strong and moving its head, and the wrangler said, here's your horse. And Jerry said, that's not a good pick for me because I'm delivering lines. I don't think that horse is going to be cooperative. I'd like a kinder, gentler horse. And the wrangler said, you're just afraid of that horse. And Jerry said, no, I'm not really afraid of it. He was very afraid of it. No, I'm not afraid of it. I just don't want that horse. So the wrangler jumped on the horse. The horse reared its head back and knocked out the man's teeth. Because he had moved through his fear. In other words, he had no sensitivity to the relationship with the horse that he just had. He was accustomed to doing things because that's the way he did things. Jerry's sensitivity kept his teeth in his head. So whenever someone says, I want to move through fear, we say, no, you don't. You want to focus on things so that the fear dissipates. You want to bring yourself in alignment with the well-being that is natural. But we don't want you to regard your negative emotions as something unwanted. We want you to regard them as guidance that assists you in releasing the thoughts that aren't helpful and discovering the thoughts that are.
How do I know what thoughts are the ones that I should be thinking?
They feel good when you think them. What a concept. You mean that kind of well-being really does abound? You mean that I am that blessed and that worthy, and I have a guidance within me that is strong enough that will show me? Practice it. Find somebody who's really given you a hard time and focus upon the injustice that they've offered and feel how awful it feels. Bring yourself to a place of really not liking someone. Really resent them and really beat the drum of it and feel how you feel. And recognize that all you're doing is choosing a stance that the source within you, that your inner being, that the larger part of you will not choose no matter what. Because no matter how much reality you're facing, your inner being will not leave the vortex and commiserate with you. And that's why you have negative emotion. And the stronger the negative emotion, that's the indication, the more that there's something on the flip side of it that you really, really want, you see. So, and as we said earlier, you can't necessarily really know what you don't want and then instantaneously really know what you do want, but you can distract yourself. The fastest way, we have fun with these money and manifestation cards. These are brilliant. We wrote them. Because the best gathering of words and concepts relative to prosperity that exist truly. So let's say you are fearful about money. Let's say that there's not enough, that bills are piling up, that things are happening. And so you decide that you are going to do something about it. So you purchase these wonderful cards and you begin to read and you say, I can see my world through the eyes of Source. Right. Whenever I am feeling good, I am attracting good. Cool. The law of attraction responds to my vibration. I am in deep doo-doo. I'll tell my boss. Nothing is more important than I feel good. Blah, blah, blah. The better it gets, the better it gets. Who writes this stuff? I can pivot under any and all conditions. You see what we're getting at? If you are in a place of fear or in a place outside the vortex and you decide to affirm or to make it better or to do something that makes it better, usually what happens is you just dig in a more resistant place, because all this does is remind you with greater fervor that you're not where you want to be. And so there's a sort of backfiring thing that happens. So it's better, rather than hitting it head on, to change the subject, to get off the subject that is agitating you or off the subject to which you are feeling so much fear, and try to find something that you feel better about. Often, when you really don't feel good, the best thing to do is to meditate or to take a nap or to do something to break the evil spell of the point of attraction just a little bit. We're kidding you about the evil spell thing, you know, but to break the point of attraction, because as you then find something that feels better. So this is the point of what we've been talking about today. You've heard it all day long from us, is that it's far more productive and far easier for you to find yourself in the vicinity of the vortex and then milk that a little bit than to go from a fearful place and try to move into the vortex, because what you've got going on vibrationally is just going to reflect more back to you. So if you're in a place where you're really feeling fear and someone says push through it, maybe what they mean is just hang on, because you cannot maintain that level of fear for a very long time, because you're going to be distracted with life, you're going to be distracted with sleep, in other words, this too shall pass. And if you're aware that it will pass and you're looking for opportunities for it to pass and you're finding other moments that feel better, we promise you, when you find yourself in the vicinity or in the vortex, that's when you want to do the work. So the way you release fear from your experience is by replacing it with confidence and certainty. The easiest way to release fear from your experience is to find something to love, something easy to love, and focus upon the fact that you love it and how much you love it. In other words, it really is about the amount of airtime that you've been giving to things. But you have been living under a misconception, as have most people on the planet. Most people think that stuff just happens, and when bad stuff happens and you look at it and you have to, that you're going to feel fear and that there's not anything that you can do about it. And we want to say, even under the most fearful of conditions, you don't have to feel fear, because you have the ability to change the subject. So why wouldn't anyone? This is a big question that we want you to consider about yourself. Why wouldn't anyone be willing to change the subject from a fearful one to a joyful one? Why would you not be willing to do that? Because you don't believe in the vortex? Because you believe in reality? Because you don't believe that changing the point of your attention and therefore changing the way you feel? In other words, the only reason that anyone would not be willing to do that is because they really don't get the vortex, they really don't get attraction, they really don't get vibration, they really don't yet understand that manifestations will follow your point of attraction, and your point of attraction is evidenced to you by the way you feel, and you can choose to feel good no matter what, no matter what, no matter what, once you understand this, you see. So when you say, how can I push through fear? We say, we wouldn't. We just try to find little pieces of something that feel entirely different than fear, and we would practice them until they're so active in our vibration that even scary things don't scare you. It's so interesting. You can reach the place where someone will say something to you that has the potential of frightening you, and you don't feel fear because your understanding of well-being is so in place within you that you know how